Hey everybody, Riot Mort here with Riot Kent, and it's time for another Patch Post Mortem, where we dive in, look at the last patch, and discuss what went right, what went wrong, and what we screwed up royally. So I think this patch will be interesting, Kent. What do you think?
Oh, you mean this post-mortem?
Yeah.
I think so. Let's get into it
You
and
want to dive
find
right
out.
in? All right, let's just dive right
Yeah.
in. Let's go for it. All right, Inktail Little Legend. They're sweet. If you got some, cool. If not, get some.
These are sick.
Esports Pengu. I think Esports Pengu is pretty cool.
Yeah, this one's also sick.
All right. Large changes. Let's start with Draven. We buffed Draven. Okay. I think this is like the third or fourth buff in a row where it's just like, let's just inch him forward. Let's just inch him forward. And it's not solving his core problem of the guy needs 4 items.
Yeah. I feel we just like threw a bunch of buffs at Draven, trying to like solve, thinking that like once he has enough numbers, he'll be able to it'll fix some of his problems basically. Like maybe you can build certain things instead of other things, but ends up just like this unit is still really hard to use because he needs 4 items.
Yeah, the big thing like I know people are like, "Oh, just give him 4 range," but we want to keep that identity of like he's the risky high DPS carry that has to go front to back. Like that's his identity, but yeah, just like short of almost like doubling his damage, it just seems like no amount of buffing it is getting us to where we want Draven to be.
Oh yeah, there was that one Reddit post that I don't fully agree with, but there was some stuff that was correct there about like positioning complexity within each set and how like this set you just corner things. And so like Draven's one of the few ones, I think Lucian too, but Draven's one of the few ones where like you sometimes want him on the second row or you want him somewhere else, and you kind of need to actually think about his position. You just don't just stick him on the back line. And so we want to keep that for sure. And he's also just like the riskier get in your face and like 1v5 you kind of guy. So like we don't want to take that away by giving him the range, but definitely needed to do something more than just what we did.
Yep. So you'll see next patch with kind of our last big swing to try to fix this Draven problem, but it's pretty clear the nickel and dime buff approach isn't going to fix Draven.
Yep.
Cool. Galio nerf. Unless I'm crazy, this seemed to be like right on the money. Like Galio's really good still, but not like oppressively overpowered. He's still worth putting 3 items on. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this plus like the stone plate changes ended up in a really good spot where like he's still really tanky if you build him correctly. So it didn't like I think this nerf was great. Cool. It's kind of funny though. Galio like shows up kind of weirdly in her data because he's also draconic, and so then you get those like draconic losses that throw his data a little bit lower. But yeah, but I still think he's like a great unit for sure. So this is good. This was a good change.
Cool. Ivern, I think this is a change that like in isolation is correct, but this late into the set, I think actually did more harm than good is the sad thing. Because everyone was so used to Ivern, and it's like now Ivern feels worse. Like the balance is correct, but he just feels less fun. And had we launched at this number, it would have actually been perfect. So I'm happy we got the learning that like the interrupt stun is okay. But I do think it came too late, and now it's just like Ivern just doesn't feel as fun.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. It's like we've kind of all gotten used to the bump where you like hop up because you got CC'd, and now it's just like a little really small, so it just feels a lot worse. But I think if we had shipped, like with this change in, it would probably have been the best move.
Right, like I said, it's a healthier game state, but it just feels weird. Like Ivern just feels, he almost feels like a 3 cost now, which I know is not true again from a balance state, but the feeling.
I see what you mean, but also I still think like Ivern's. I mean, yeah, okay, you said it too, but like Ivern's a balanced unit. He just provides so much EHP for the team. He's great, and you get an early Ivern, you're still really happy about it. It just, he certainly feels worse, and I don't really like how the knockup feels, even though like it's balanced, and we figured this is what an interrupt should look like. Ultimately, it's like I think I'm also anchored on the 1.5 second knockup timer that Ivern used to have.
Yeah, so. I mean, Revenant's always going to be valuable no matter what we do. The guys could barely have spells, and I think you'd still run Revenant.
Yeah.
All right, Jax. This one's tricky for me. I'm curious what you think, but for me, I think the attack speed bonus nerf was correct, especially at 1 star. the health nerf might have been overkill. It's minor. Like, nickel dime here. Like, I still see Jaxes do okay, but interestingly enough, I don't see many Jaxes win anymore. It feels like a top 4 comp.
I think that's just like the meta shifting. 'Cause to me, Jax still feels great, and if you get it early, like he's still such a good unit to play that I don't think this nerf actually like meaningfully shifted Jax too much, other than like, oh well, the meta changed a bunch, so you know, true damage Yasuo was like destroying everything, so Jax couldn't play the way he used to, where it was like because he's a stall comp, you know, and he
Yeah,
wants
that's
to ramp
true.
up, and
That's
he needs
true.
that time. And so like if Yasuo burns through that,
Yeah.
and you know multiple people are playing Yasuo, that's kind of why like Jax would feel worse.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. The Yasuo, which we'll talk about in a bit, but I think that might have thrown him off, and so maybe he'll come back.
Yeah, I think so. I think I still think Jax feels good when the lobby isn't like half Yasuo. So.
Yeah. Lucian. This is one that was funny. I remember reading Lobby 2, seeing this, and they're like, oh my god, you're killing Lucian. And I was like, I don't think so. I still think Lucian is just fine. And honestly, I still think he's a little overtuned still. But, like, he's fine. He's fun.
Honestly, when we talked about this change, also, you know, like, we talked about nerfing Lucian, and then we did the numbers, and then I was just like, holy crap, we're gonna, like, this is a big nerf. And then turns out, you know, it was fine. Like I ran some sims, he seemed fine. Launched him, he seems fine. So, but on paper, like this looks scary. Like this looks like a scary nerf.
Yeah, until you realize that it's only like half his spell, and his other half is
Right.
like untouched. Like it's such a tiny nerf.
Yeah, it mats out to be like not as astronomical as this kind of looks. Even though it's like, yeah, it's 20 damage, but like, you know, it's like 20%. It's like that's a big nerf for like really OP champions typically. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Kayle. I think Kayle actually, it took us forever, but Kayle is right where she should be. Like, she's not Deathblade dependent. She's got her good items. She's a good 5-cost 2-star champion if you can get the comp online. Not oppressive though. Like, I don't know. I think we finally did it with Kayle.
Yeah, I think so too. Kayle seems to be in a good spot, and this change was like, when you look at the Ascension scaling, you're like, holy crap, that's a huge nerf. But then when you math it together with the AD, and then you math like how much damage each hit is at certain points, it's like it's not as bad as it sounds. It's kind of like the Lucian one.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm as like scary as this looks on paper. It seems to have brought Kayle to a good spot.
Yep. Volibear, I don't know. I still think we're gonna see 3 Volibears at Worlds. Like, Volibear's still good. I think if anything, this might have helped Yasuo, if anybody. It didn't really help Skirms. I don't think it helped Locket that much, but like, seems healthier.
Surprisingly, not seeing that many Lockets, which was surprising after this change. But yeah, I think you're right. This contributed to like Yasuo's dominance.
Yep. Okay. Bloodthirster. I think this was a good change. Bloodthirster's still a very good item. It's just now not quite as oppressive on the few champs it was. This might also be another example of why Jax isn't performing as well, though. I think Jax was incredibly dependent on this item.
This item would make Jax like unkillable. It was nuts.
Yep.
So yeah, good change, and probably is contributing to like Jax multiple factors here basically contributed to like Jax falling off.
Yeah, I think, like I said, if anything, I think the Jax AS nerf, the Bloodthirster nerf, and the HP nerf. That's why I said maybe you pull back on the HP nerf here, but
yeah, maybe. But also, like, we haven't seen enough without Yasuo dominating the meta yet.
So, Stoneplate, I think this is fine. I think the item's still quite good. Again, a little hard to say with the true damage meta, but overall, I still think the people are going to take this item.
I agree. It's interesting too. Like, we had to buff it so that players. I mean, I think even before it was, you know, around this level, and it's like we had to buff it to a point where it was really strong, and now everyone realizes, hey, this item can be good on certain champions.
Yep. Yeah. Locket. It was interesting talking to Lobby 2 and like what kind of comp would really want to use a Locket, and it was like the best we could come up with was 6 Legionnaire, some really bursty, kind of comp. But the reality is, there just aren't a lot of comps like the old Sharpshooter Spirit, where it was like, I'm glass cannon and I need to stay alive, and so we just don't have like, because even 6 Legionnaire has like Yasuo who needs ramp time, and Kayle who needs ramp time, and even Draven who needs to cast before he starts hitting quite hard. So I just think this item doesn't have a spot in the meta, and like no amount of buffing could really get it to where you'd want this, to be honest.
I would think that like it would work in Assassins, but like I think compared to other radiant items, you just want that multiplication anyways. So this this gives you a lot of health and a lot of protection when you don't have frontline, but like why don't just blow them up even faster?
Yep. So and then Shiv, I actually think this one was a success. It's not like we're seeing a ton of people build Shiv, but now when you take it, you at least feel like there's a special thing you've gained here. And so overall, I think this item is like a little bit more playable now, and I wouldn't be shocked if this item is being slept on.
I agree. I think everyone's still anchored on like it being not good. But I think ultimately it's not like something you take as soon as you see it, but it's something that like specifically if you have a need for MR shred, this is a lot of MR shred. So
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there's like a hidden Akshan build with this item that's like really good also right now.
Pikachu Akshan.
I'm dead serious.
I want to see it.
All right, into the small changes. Hellion 6 and 8 buff. Didn't really move the needle much.
I guess we see some like zigs sometimes. I don't know if they go that far. They never go 8, but like it didn't change that much.
Yeah. Okay, Chug Jug. So this one's hilarious because I bet there are people out there that look at this and they're like, this is why Kha'Zix is OP. Had nothing to do with this. It just coincidentally happened that this caused people to try Kha'Zix reroll, and they figured out the right item build with Kha'Zix reroll, and it turned out Kha'Zix reroll has always been good. I was looking at this with Witty. We haven't touched Kha'Zix all set.
Yeah.
He has not changed all set. And I know people will say, yeah, but you change things around it. I guarantee you with these items, he was probably this strong the whole time.
Yeah, people just didn't discover it yet. Like, it wasn't even like, oh, hey, I'm going to build a Kha'Zix comp. It was, I'm going to build Chug Jug. Hey, wait, Kha'Zix is pretty good. Yep. Wait, Kha'Zix is really good. Yep. And then it's like, okay, now it's Chug Bug.
Yeah. So, hilariously enough, I think this change is fine. I don't think Gragas is overpowered. I think this is fine. But, turns out there was an undiscovered Kha'Zix build. Oops.
I agree this change was good. I don't know if Gragas is not overtuned, but he's pretty tanky. But like maybe he's at a acceptable
sure,
state.
He might be tanky. But like this didn't change that. This is just like
this change was bad.
He taps them a little harder. Woo! Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pike...
It didn't even change Gragas' build or anything. Like
yeah. Pike change seems fine.
Yeah.
Nidalee change. I don't know. I think this is unnecessary, but like small change, it's fine.
Nidalee is still so good, and every time you watch any stream and they go, "Who balances this Nidalee unit?" and I say the same thing. When
that's just because of the dodge. That's just because of the dodge.
The health, the dodge multiplies the health. It's effective health. So like, yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, like Nidalee's still fine though. Like I said, it's a small change. It's fine. It's exactly what a small change is supposed to do. Speaking of which, Nunu. I think this is another good example of a small change. Nunu's a little bit less oppressive. Nunu has been my secret weapon climbing. I love watching my 4-brawler Nunu just eat people because nobody runs 4-brawler, and it's the freest climb I've had in a while. Yeah. But yeah, good change.
I'm glad this change went through because I feel like Nunu one-shots too many things too frequently, so this change helped like tone that down a little bit, and I think it was a good change.
It's fine. All right, let's talk about the biggest mistake of the patch. So it's unfortunate because I think this change had good intentions, and honestly, everyone who plays the change is like, "Oh my god, he feels so much better, so it's great." But I don't think we properly gave this the testing it needed to figure out that, oops, this is a really, really big buff.
Yeah, with testing, it's often like snapshots of certain points in the game, and so like end games, like Yasuo got a little bit stronger, but like the whole path there where he can just ramp up way faster in fights, especially early game fights are like really long. He can get to a higher point, and so like there wasn't enough. We should have preemptively nerfed this.
Yeah,
because even from like I mathed it out. I did like it's not that big of a buff, but it was like. In consideration, there was like many other things that also factored in, which is like Revenant nerfs, nerfs to certain. I'm blanking now, but there were certain other changes basically that we like decided compounded together made Yasuo go too far, and this was one of the biggest contributors to those.
I think it's definitely the biggest. The thing, it's interesting because I really like what this did to the champion. Like the fact that people are considering Radiant blue buff now on him is like good. That's exciting. It's a new build, and it's like he has 40 mana. That's fun.
I remember it's the threshold, so like he can ramp up fast enough to kill a CC unit before the CC goes off. So sometimes he can like kill the rel before the rel gets the shield and the CC, which helps him ramp even further and faster. So then he gets like really strong, just runs over the whole team.
Yeah,
another part of it. So.
Yeah, but this is definitely one that like I think this one is going to be one of our key learnings from here on out, where it's like small changes like an animation speed. Like, again, I think we were expecting this to be like a 5% buff, not the like 30% buff it ended up being.
Yeah.
So
it is a really interesting learning too, just going forward and like for set development, learning how much changing the animation time for something can, like how big that can impact the set, especially for someone that ramps up.
Yep. Cool. All right. Aphelios, Diana, Fiddlesticks, Karma, all getting their 3-star buffs. I think this is good. I think those champions are more satisfying. We also Draven was included. Watching somebody hit a 3-star Draven and them critting for like 5k is hilarious.
Big numbers.
Which, still Draven 3, still a meme a little, but again, big numbers are fun.
Sad. Yeah.
Cool. Viego. I finally feel like Viego is now where he should be. Where like that again, Viego 1 with no items, not really a steal. I do think, and this is probably my fault here, but like I do think we probably overbuffed Viego 2. Viego 2 is a monster now.
I actually was having the exact same thought, so I guess we agree. Like I think Viego 1's in a good spot. I think we shouldn't have buffed Viego 2.
Yep. I agree. I think Viego 2 is a monster now. And like he steals, especially if you even just like 2 sins, he just steals so fast.
Yep.
Cool.
It's terrifying.
Yep. Radiant Frozen Heart. Seems like this change was fine. Again, just Diana. Good. Yeah, it's still good.
Yeah.
Gargoyle Stoneplate seems fine. So Giant Slayer still seems good. I think the item's finally where it should be now. It's a good item. You can still instant slam it. Still good.
Yep, agreed.
Radiant RFC, good nerf. I think some players think it's not enough. I think Yasuo coming into the meta kind of made this item even stronger, but like Nocturne was another one. So
yeah, it might still be too strong, but I mean, I'm glad we did this nerf. Yep. And I think we see how it plays out now that Yasuo is nerfed up to the V patch.
Yep. All right. So that's the changes. And then based on these changes, what we saw was a meta where Yasuo dominated. Chugbug also did pretty well. Because Chugbug was doing well, that allowed Vayne to come back again. And so we did see a bit of a reroll meta there kind of come back. Because that's one of these problems we still have to solve is like if one person's in a bucket, everyone should be in the bucket kind of thing. But so with that in mind, and again, looking at the data, it was really Yasuo that threw it all off. We got to scroll back up to the top here and look at our B patch changes. So the Sin change, I admit I haven't got enough reps after the B patch to see how Sins are doing. I'm very because like Sins do need to be a comp that can win the game, and if that's not true, I think we've over nerfed. But from what I'm seeing, if anything, they might finally be balanced. But it's really hard to tell this early.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't seen enough yet to see how this change affected them. They still seem good, but I don't know if it's costing them first when it could have been like they end up third when they could have been first, that kind of thing. So it doesn't like magnitude wise, like at least 4 sin doesn't seem that far. It just we did hit 6 sin pretty hard.
6 sin was real strong though. The thing to remember about 6 sin is they have built-in 100% crit rate.
Yeah, and then they have sin spout on fiddle, and that unit is bonkers.
Yep.
So yeah.
The other thing to note here is you might be going, well, how is it they don't know yet? Isn't this their job? And the thing is, the real talk here is we're at the point where we're getting near the end of the set. We're ramping up for set 6. We're making changes. Like a lot of our focus is shifting. And so real talk, our visibility is a little lower right now. And so, but that's just us being honest. And thankfully, the game's in a decent spot. So it's not like it needs, 100% of our time. But
working on the thing. But also just... it's like we're recording this on Friday, and the the patch came out on Wednesday, so like we haven't had that much time to actually watch the meta like develop and settle yet either. So another part of it.
Kha'Zix's nerf. I think this Kha'Zix's nerf was correct. If anything, I've seen some people claim he's too strong. I've also watched Raditz get 3/8s in a row. So, you know, if anything, it might be like right where it should be. But
yeah, from what I've seen, it might be too little, but also Raditz. So, you know.
I told you I wanted 475. No.
I know, you did. You did.
Vayne, I think Vayne's still doing just fine, to be honest here. So
yep, Vayne's fine.
I think at this point, I think Vayne is what Vayne is. And then this Yasuo nerf, I know it was interesting because you and I debated if it was going to be enough or not.
Yeah.
And again, it's really too early to tell. From what I can tell, though, it's interesting. I wanted to tweet this, the duality of Reddit, because I had 2 posts back to back, and one was Yasuo is trash now, and the other is Yasuo still OP, nice B patch.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So hard to tell, but overall, though, it does seem better.
Yeah, for sure. I think this definitely is better. I'm just shocked at how good Yasuo still is from what I've seen. Like, I don't know, for obviously it's too early to tell, but like he still seems great, and these are big nerfs. So yeah, I'm just surprised. I think one thing we may be underestimating is how much that magic damage actually does. So something for us to keep an eye on.
Maybe every time I look at the meters, it's so much physical damage, or true damage, but
yeah,
we'll see. So yeah, generally overall in this patch, what I would say is there was a lot of stuff in the right direction, and then one big oopsie. But I've said this 100 times, is that TFT is the kind of game where one thing out of whack, and the whole house of cards falls over. And so in this case, yeah, that Yasuo animation was a little bit of an overbuff. So
yeah,
it happens.
He feels good.
He does feel a lot better. So
yeah,
cool. All right, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we're good. We covered it.
Cool. All right, that's going to do it for this patch post mortem. As always, let us know if you enjoy these. Let us know if anything you want to see different. Give us feedback. Let us know if we should keep doing them. Otherwise, we can have our Friday nights back, you know.
Yeah.
So. All right, that's going to do it from us. Until next time, take it easy.